From Boston is Jim Walsh. He's an international security analyst and a research associate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Welcome, Jim. There are concerns. You just heard it. Something could happen. It could happen soon. Some news agencies reporting signs of activity at the DPRK's main nuclear test site in the northeast of the country. We just heard from Jim talking about the U.S. president inviting the U.S. Senate, the entire U.S. Senate, over for a briefing. So what are you hearing? What are your thoughts? What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think if a test is going to happen, it's probably going to happen in the next 2.5 hours. If you look at past record of North Korea's nuclear tests, it's about from right now 7:30 Eastern time to about 10 p.m. when they are inclined to have a nuclear test. I agree. The 38 North website has said the North Koreans are ready to test at any point. Many people, myself included, thought they might test back when they were celebrating, with a big parade, the birthday of their founder, Kim Il-sung. So anything could happen. But I must say that DPRK rhetoric that you quoted might suggest that the North might be restrained here. I'm sure they're getting a message from China, don't do this. And the most interesting thing I saw this last week was a report out of Pyongyang suggesting that the North Koreans were starting to ration their gasoline. And that is probably in response to a Chinese newspaper report suggesting that if there were a nuclear test, that that China would cut back on oil exports to North Korea. That's sort of a big deal. If you're North Korea, you're dependent on those exports. So I'm hoping we get through another, celebration without any major fireworks. But we'll know in the next several hours.
You've watched the ups and downs of this relationship for quite a while.
Too long.
Yeah.
Too long.
So how bad is it right now?
I'd say it's bad. I would say it's bad for this reason. In some ways, the fundamentals haven't changed. I mean, North Korea is sort of incrementally moving forward in its capability. But, the horse was already out of the barn a while ago, and it's sort of building on that. And that's worrisome. But no one is going to reach to start a war. The North Koreans aren't going to start a war for the heck of it because they know they would lose. And I think the Americans realize, at least if you look at Mr. Trump's recent policy review, the military action it really isn't a great option here for a variety of reasons. The problem is both the North Koreans and, in my view, the Trump administration are engaged in all this bluster and tough talk. And I'm sort of old school on that. I don't think you should wave a gun around unless you intend to use it. And when you start doing that sort of thing, misperception, miscalculation, people can make mistakes that can lead to a conflict that actually no one wants. The odds are low, but I think this is a very dangerous environment we're in right now.
Jim, but this, I think you'd agree with me, this is the misdirection president, the U.S. president, in that before the meeting with President Xi at Mar-a-Lago, this is going to be really tough. And then after the meeting, it seemed to go well. He said, we're going to label him a currency manipulator. That's not the case. This is a guy that's always out for a deal. Any chance that all this bluster in the background, perhaps there's back channel discussions going on? I mean, what do we see? Because it seems like Donald Trump makes you look over this way, other things are going on over there.
Yeah, my view of that is that might be, and who knows, right? I mean, who knows? There's not a lot of data here. There's no track record of government. I think that might be less calculation, too clever by half, and more just sort of the way he rolls. I think he just sort of goes from thing to thing. So, and if that's the case, he said he goes by his gut, his instincts, and that he's a counterpuncher. If that's true, that sort of approach applied to this problem, that's not a good way to go. But I agree with you. I think, despite all the talk, that was a very positive summit with Xi. China has taken some steps. I think he's going to let those play out. And certainly it would be, I cannot begin to describe this, how disastrous it would be if suddenly there was a military escalation when South Korea has no elected president. I don't think we should be substituting strategic haste for strategic patience. Let the South Koreans have an election. Let them have a leader. Consult with that leader. Because if there's a conflict, it ain't being fought here in the U.S. It's going to be fought in South Korea. So I'm hoping that this is all just talk, and that the North Koreans don't challenge him on this, and that we can get through this weekend, get through the elections, and then really have a policy and be methodical where all the parties are on the same page.
Well, Jim Walsh, we'll be watching closely over the next few hours with your advice that you just gave us. Thanks so much for joining us from Boston.
Thank you, Mike.